Everybody, in today's video, it's going to be a short, but I feel like incredibly useful video, and it's something that I waited to do for a very long time, and that is building a Lazy Susan platform for when you're finishing. And it doesn't just have to be used for spray finishing. It can be used for wipe-on, for rolling, really for anything. It just makes the process a lot easier. And so in this short video, I'm going to be showing you exactly what you need and exactly how to go about doing it, or how I go about doing it. As you can see here, I have one that's relatively large. I actually use this one quite often for anything cabinetry related, whether I'm spraying sides or doors or drawer fronts, or maybe even any slightly larger material. This one has worked really, really well for a long time, and it only cost a couple of bucks to make. And it's super easy, but the benefits are really incredible. So the reason why I'm making a smaller one is sometimes I do wish that I had a smaller one for smaller parts, something that doesn't take up as much space, and you can get the painter's triangles, which I'm going to talk about in this video, a little bit closer together for smaller items. Specifically, what I'm getting ready to do is spray a new finish that I haven't tried yet, which will be a separate video, on these white oak stools. Now, I made these white oak stools utilizing the bench pilot from Shaper Tools. It's the newest release. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen it, but it was a really cool project, and I made one for each one of my sons, basically, with their initials on it. And I want to spray these. Now, while I could use the existing one that I had, I figured this would be a really good opportunity to show you how to make one. So the first thing is you just need a couple of pieces of scrap wood. This is some 5/8 inch thick MDF that I had from another project that I actually used on another video where I was doing a review of the Graco Ultimate Quick Shot, which is what I will actually be using to spray these. That's the airless sprayer. And this is just a scrap piece of 3/4 inch Baltic birch. And you'll notice that they're two different sizes. The larger piece is going to be the platform that the pieces sit on, and the smaller piece will be the base. Now, I like to size it roughly about 2/3. You could make it the same size if you really wanted to, but 2/3 works pretty well. What you want to avoid is for the bottom piece to be so small that if you were to get something large on there, that it would cause tipping. Right? We obviously don't want that. We want it to be a sturdy platform regardless of what orientation the Lazy Susan is in, and this will work just fine. Next thing you're going to need is some double-sided tape. I like this 3M thicker double-sided tape. I just find it to be a little bit stronger, which is important in the application I'm going to show you. You'll obviously need a Lazy Susan, which is this. I'll talk more about that in a moment. You'll need some screws to screw that into your substrate. I've got some Titebond CA glue and activator. That is going to be used on the painter's triangles, which I will be putting on here. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the actual Lazy Susan. This is the only thing that you're really going to have to spend any money on, and luckily it only costs a couple of dollars depending on the size that you get. The one that I have on this one is a much larger. I've had this one laying around for quite some time, specifically for the purpose of what I'm doing in this video, which is making a smaller Lazy Susan for smaller things such as this. Now, I brought you in a little bit closer so you can see this portion, but this right here is a better look at the Lazy Susan. So you'll see that it operates independently of one another. Now, as I turn this, you'll see that I have access to the different holes. So before I said I like to use some double-sided tape, that's going to be for the bottom, because I'm going to screw this directly into what will be the top. And all I'm going to do is place my Lazy Susan roughly where I want it to go. None of this has to be super accurate. Once I get that first screw in, I can screw in the rest. All right, next we're going to attach this to this piece right here. Now, you can go through the process of lining up the holes, pre-drilling, all of that, just so you know exactly where they are, but it's really unnecessary for this. All we're trying to do is make sure that this piece right here sticks to this and doesn't fall off when you pick it up. And then when this is flipped over, there's going to be weight obviously on it, So this is just a quick, easy way to do that. Now, I use a lot more than I probably need to, just because, you know, this double-sided tape isn't very expensive and it's readily available. So I'm just going to put some right here. Put another strip along the back over here. And then remove the backing. And all we have to do now is just place this board on, and I'm just looking at it from the top, making sure that it's roughly centered. I'm going to apply some pressure, make sure that that adheres to that wood really well, and it's attached, and they spin freely. Now, I can flip this over, and for the smaller pieces, this should be more than suitable for any finishing that I need to do. Now the next step is where the painter's triangles come into play. And so what you want to do is align these painter's triangles, you know, however you see fit, whatever works for you. And we're just going to put a little bit of CA glue on them to kind of hold them in place. One thing I will say is that once you start spraying finish on these, they're naturally going to start to stick. So this is really just to keep them in place for the first part of it. Now I'm going to be utilizing this first to do these stools. So as long as they're in that rough pattern, then we should be just fine. So orient these again however you want. And I want to say again that the benefit to having these on there is that you can rearrange these however you want, because the goal is to keep it off of the material underneath. It doesn't matter how much finish gets on that. So if you ever need to break these off and it messes up the surface, it doesn't matter. So you just break it off, put it wherever you need it to go. So to do this, you don't need a lot. I'll just put a little dab on one of the tabs there. I don't do both just in case I do need to rip it off. It's simply just to hold it in place so they don't move when I'm taking material on and off. Spray that activator, let the activator do its thing, and then they're all in position where they need to be. So now this is ready to be used. It's really simple to make these and very cheap. So what's the big benefit to doing this, and why do I like it so much? So I spray everything in my shop. Specifically, 95% of it all happens at this table right here, whether it's paint or it's a clear coat. And so one of the benefits to doing something like this is, let's just say, let's flip this over, because I'm going to start on the bottom, so then I can place these legs down on this when I flip it over, right? Which the painter's triangles don't inhibit at all. So if I have this sitting here like this, if I had to move around it or constantly move it, I'm putting my hands on the material, I'm getting it dirty, maybe I have dust on my hands, I have the potential of dropping it, of hitting the finish. There's all these different things that can happen. But I also have to move around the piece, if I'm not touching it, to make sure that I get all of the angles properly. What this allows me to do is break this down into sections. So if I'm spraying a finish, if I want to start on the outside of this leg, I can start here, outside of this leg, outside of this leg, outside of this leg, then I can turn it, get this leg, this, and all the while I'm not actually touching the material, and I'm able to make sure that I get a good even coat on everything. But more importantly, I'm able to dictate where my overspray goes. One of the biggest questions that I get asked on a regular basis when I show myself in videos spraying a finish on my table, all I do is put a plastic drop cloth, the cheap 0.3 or 0.5 mil plastic sheets that you can buy in the pack for, relatively inexpensive. And I basically just use them as a 1 or 2 time use. And I just lay it over this, because I'm able to direct where my finish is going. So I don't have a bunch of finish getting over here. I don't have a bunch of finish getting over here. I don't have it coming off for me here. When I do spray finish, I will typically pull it towards the front of the table, because I'm going to have more room on the off side where I'm actually spraying the finish. So by having something like this that allows you to manipulate the piece that you're putting finish on very easily and very smoothly is really beneficial to not only getting a really good quality finish, but also ensuring that you don't get overspray absolutely everywhere and you're not fighting with hoses, you're not dealing with any of that. So I would strongly encourage anybody out there watching this to just spend a couple of bucks, get one of these Lazy Susans, take some scrap wood, and now you have yourself a really nice platform. And you can make these as big as you want. Obviously the size will be limited as to what size Lazy Susan you can get, but this is a really, really helpful thing to have laying around in the shop. And again, it doesn't really take up that much space. Now, when I finish spraying that side, because I have those painter's triangles, I can always place it just like this, and I can still spin as needed. And before, when I was talking about you don't want to have too much weight on one side or the other if you have too small of a base, because it will affect the ability for it to turn as easily. But what you don't want is you wouldn't want it to do that and slide this thing off. So this is going to be a great size for these and stuff like small drawer fronts or small parts that I need to apply finish on. You know, now that I've actually got it right side up, another benefit in a situation like this, you'll notice that this is a round stool. So I obviously need to make sure that I apply finish on the outsides. So what you can do is I can take my sprayer, move the sprayer in, and turn this and have a nice even speed to where I get a nice even finish all the way around. So there's a lot of really nice benefits to having something like this. So hopefully you found that video helpful. Be sure to check out the next video where I test out a new finish utilizing this Lazy Susan, and we'll see what kind of results I get with that. Thanks.